Kia ora team, and welcome to a very special edition of the Advantage Line podcast here. A very short one. We know plenty of you loved former guest Fisky and his tips and everything he had to say about the game. So before he left us, he went through every single team for the season, gave us his thoughts, a little quick rundown on how each team will go, where they'll finish, and all of that. So we've put it all together in one little podcast here for you to enjoy. Cheers.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about the Broncos this year. Reynolds, yes, an upgrade. Kurt Capel, an upgrade. We saw how dominant Haas is, but I'm still worried about fullback and dummy half. So Jake Turpin, dummy half, okay. New at fullback, okay. Staggs will be fit to start the year, which is important. But under Kevin Walters, I just don't see this being a top 8 side. They'll have a lot better season than last year and obviously the year before where they won the spoon. So Broncos won't make the 8. They won't come last. And interesting to see how they go, but I'd have them in that sort of bottom quarter of teams. Bulldogs, well, isn't this the team on everyone's lips? It's almost like a fantasy team come to life. I like a lot of their signings. I love Burton. I think he's a brilliant footballer. But is he a centre? I don't know if he's going to be able to dominate in the halves with this pack and this makeshift backline. There's a lot of speed in the backline. Dufty, Adokar, Naden, no doubt about it. But do they have a genuine halfback? And do they have a genuine dummy half? Just like the Broncos, really. I know there's a lot of buzz about them, and Gus School's done well getting them this far, but I don't know. Pangai Jr., okay. See how he performs in this environment. They're talking about Averillo at halfback, maybe. I thought Marshall King at dummy half was okay, but they're going to be playing some very good sides. So I don't think they'll be bottom 4. I think they might sneak into that quadrant just out the 8, but no way do I think they'll make the 8. Canberra Raiders, interesting one here. Been pretty quiet in the off-season. Nick Kotrick's a welcome return. They were looking a little bit anemic out wide. Chance Nickel-Coxstad was injured for most of the year, so all of a sudden you got bang, 2 important players from their grand final season in 19. So it's a side that's aging. You know, Croker's the jury's out on whether he'll be able to get through the season, which would be sad if he doesn't. Wyden came back to the pack last year. Fogarty is an interesting signing. I like him. So I've gone through about half a dozen players there in the back line if you include Rapana, Seb, Chris. It's not a bad back line. Now, we know what issues they had in the pack last year with Bateman leaving. Hudson Young was off his game for most of the year. That they're going to have to be with Starling. If he gets off this case he's in, hopefully he gets off. Papali was off his game a little bit. Hodgson's still there for a year. I think they can sneak into the 8, but that'd be as good as they can go. I just don't see any upside in this team. A couple of good youngsters, but not amazing depth. So unsettled off season, a few more players fitter than last year. I think they'll sneak in the 8, the Raiders. Okay, the Sharks. Wow, I love this team. This is probably my biggest bet in the off season. Sharks to make the 8. I'm really hot on them. I love the signings. I actually think they complement what was already not a bad side. Fitzgibbon comes in as a highly regarded coach. Mate, you know my feelings on that. I need to see it before I believe it. But apart from him, and look, I've got no reason to expect he won't be good. I love Hines in the halves. I thought Trindle finished the season well last year. I thought Will Kennedy was great at the back end of last year. I love their wingers, Katoa and Mulatano. So I'm liking how they're coming together. I think Blake Brayley's a tremendous dummy half. Then you got Finucane there. Let's not forget Wade Graham, right? He was injured much all of last year. He's still got a lot to offer, in my opinion. I still think he's got a couple of good years in him. And Cam Mcginnis. I see them playing Mcginnis at 13. and playing for Nukin in the front row. I think it's a really well-balanced side. I think it's tough, but it's got pace out wide. I haven't even mentioned Moylan. I'm not a big fan, but you can call on him off the bench, which is a bit of a luxury in this day and age. So there's floating around a while ago, there's about $2.25 Cronulla to make the 8. They're into $1.90. I'd take anything above $1.70. Look, it's going to be a big stretch to win the comp, and if punters want to put money there, maybe. Even top 4 is going to be very hard with the way the comp's structured. But Sharks top 8, if you get anything above $1.70, smash it. It's a great bet. Titans. Last year, they were the pin-up team. They surprised a lot of people. They were great to watch. And we only have to, it seems like so long ago, but in the last minute of that game against the Roosters in the finals last year, when Pat Herbert didn't pass the unmarked man outside him, they could have been going well into the back of the final. So they did well last year, the Titans, and they've thrown all their eggs in the basket where they've got rid of Fogarty, which was interesting. I thought they could have kept him, but they sort of moved on. Paul Turner's moved there from the Warriors, and he was injured last year, so that's a player no one's talking about. I love Preston Young Boy at fullback, and that means sort of Brimson can move into the halves. And, of course, we know how much of a battle axe Fafita and Big Tino were last year. So a solid side. I'm probably not as hot on them as I was last year. I got quite in behind them last year, but I think they might miss the 8 this year. I see they're kind of a similar price to the Raiders, and if I had to pick one or the other, I'd go Raiders over them. I just think there's a little bit more fragility in this Gold Coast side. I love the coach. Holbrook's good. I'm just not going to back him in this year. I think they're right there in that cusp, that sort of Tigers cusp of 9th. So, yeah, look, watch them closely. A couple of these young players come out of the ground and keep improving. Maybe they do prove me wrong. So I like watching this team. Hopefully they're in for a good one. Manly, wow. Promised so much last year, and, that they did get blown off the park by Souths in the finals, but I actually think they'll improve this year. And there's this common misconception maybe that, they rely on one player too much. And, of course, we're talking about Tom Trbojevic, who broke all records last year. What a season, what a player. But who doesn't rely on their key player? How would Roosters go without Teddy? How would Storm go without Munster and a handful of others? I think, how would Souths go if Cook was out and a couple of their other players? So Cody Walker, I don't think they go well at all. So I like him, and I'm prepared to say if he has a full season or close to a full season, they'll make top 4. I love the look of this side this year. Chair Evans moving them around the park. They're wingers. Wow. Didn't they come on last year? Like Garrick with his kicking and Saab just with his leaping and pace. A lot of pace around the fullback. And mate, who can forget what we saw last year with Dylan Walker off the bench? Like, what a masterstroke that was from Desi. Just roaming, give a bit of a roving commission there around the rucks, and the speed and gaps he created only served to help Trbojevic find more gaps, either out wide or back in behind the rucks. So a good side. I think they've lost Cade Cuss to the UK. Schuster, he could look. Both back rows, they played really well last year. They keep improving. This could actually be a really good pack. Croker's the only worry at dummy half, and he kind of proved us wrong last year. We never really had a go at him. We just didn't think he could do it, and he was solid without being spectacular. I know they've got Fainu's younger brother signed on big money. I don't think he'll be ready this year, so they're probably going to have to stick with Croker. If he gets through the year solid, top 4 side. So could win it. I think Manly could win it. And, I know a lot of people run them off, but, look, they're in the top line of betting, sort of about 4th or 5th, and I can't argue with that. I think they'll have a really good year. Melbourne Storm. I think it'd be almost the 20th year of Bellamy's tenure there, and they've never lost a round one game, which is not great news for Tigers. But let's not forget they'll start the season without a few of their stars. Brandon Smith, Harry Grant, Munster will all miss for various reasons. But it's an interesting one. Everyone's been predicting their demise incorrectly for the last 15 years, saying this could be the year they fall away. And I'll never do that, not while Bellamy's there. So I'm not going to write them off. I just think with Big Nelson reportedly going to Japanese rugby, we've lost Adokar as well. So a couple of changes there. Dale Finucane, this has probably been one of their more disrupted off seasons, but knowing how professional this club is and knowing how poorly they finished last year, I could not believe the way they played against Penrith. I actually think they'll start the year and carry through the year with a point to prove. And it's a young side. It's a very talented side. Nico Hines has gone too. We didn't mention him. So, you've still got Hughes and Munster in the halves. I thought Hughes was brilliant last year. Pappenhausen dropped off a bit late, but was amazing for most of the year. Xavier Coats, interesting signing for Brisbane. If he does what everyone else does when he goes to Melbourne, he'll be a superstar. So they're kind of be digging or scratching the bottom of the barrel in terms of depth, and let's see who they uncover. But Melbourne up there, but I'm probably not as excited about them as I am about, say, Manly. So I'd probably have them look on par with Manly. I just think there's a bit more downside than upside, but never write off Bellamy. Newcastle Knights, wow. I feel sorry for the people in Newcastle. Went through that horror period where they won 3 spoons in a row, and it's all fallen apart again. Now, Mitchell Pearce, I was not a fan, but him leaving in the off-season didn't allow them to plan for a replacement. So they're sort of stuck in the halves with Clifford and Clune. Neither are noted first graders. It'd be a stretch if one of them became a good first grader. So both would be highly unlikely. Palmer there is brilliant, but Gagai and Best in the centre is okay. Solid footballers, but I don't know if they're as damaging behind a halves pairing that probably won't create a lot of space for them. Good pack, really good front row, but Jaden Brayley did his Achilles, and the boys will be talking about that, obviously. And Frizzell's getting older, but look, it's a good back row, it's a good front row, but really poor depth on the bench, and worried about dummy half, and I'm worried about the halves. So I think they're in for a pretty poor season. I wouldn't be surprised if the wheels fall off with that coach, Adam O'Brien. I'm going to pick him in the bottom 4. I think they're in for a horror year. Warriors, what can I say? Everyone will be interested to see what I'm thinking about the Warriors and what the boys are thinking about the Warriors. Who knows? Is it our year? Probably not. Rogers, a huge loss, the heart and soul of the team. Side's been based in Australia now for close to 2 years, which must make things really intriguing. I can't say that the wheels have fallen off at any stage. I've been really proud of how they've performed the last 2 years, but maybe this is the year the wheels do fall off. I have no time for Nathan Brown. He's done nothing in his time at the Warriors to change my opinion. Really disappointed actually how they performed with that side they were putting on the park last year. I thought they should have been a lot better. Reece Walsh had a bit of slip up late last year. I think he'll be really switched on. Also, I think he might be in the sights of the Redcliffe Dolphins. So that might disrupt the year if he's been courted by them. It's wonderful to have Sean Johnson back. He's had a big off season. I really hope he's managed to clear up a few of his niggling injuries. I think, it's a really good pack. Katoa, Fanua Blake, Lodge is okay. I thought Curran was great last year. Harris will be back fit. It's a good pack. The bench is there. The halves are there. Not too fussed about the 3/4, but Reece Walsh is class out wide. If they had any other coach, I could see him making the 8 potentially, but with Brown, no chance. So that with the challenges of being away from home and everything else, bottom 4, I hate to say it, guys, bottom 4. Cowboys, yuck. I can categorically say this is the worst side in the 2022 NRL Premiership. It's a horror side. Todd Payton will be regretting his decision to knock back that Warriors job. I think this Cowboys side is horrendous. I don't think he's much chop either, but he will just not be able to. He just doesn't have the cattle to do anything with him. Taumalolo, I wouldn't say an up and down year last year. I think it was pretty much a down year. Such a good footballer. I'm not writing him off, but watching some vision during the week of him in 15, 16 and seeing him now, he's a different player. He's just lost that spring in his step and still got a lot to offer, but just not that dynamic player. Val Holmes have made a call. He's in the centres. That's a right call. So credit to Payton for that. They're going to hammer at fullback. Pace to burn. Love to see how he goes. Really exciting footballer. Drinkwater and Townsend in the halves. That just sums it up. That is just shocking. It's a really bad halves part pairing. And look, I like some of their really good youngsters. I think it's the back row. There's some really good forwards, Griffin Neal and Jeremy Nano. I forget how to pronounce it, but there's some really good young forwards coming through. So maybe a little bit of some positivity there for Cowboys fans. Dummy half still stuck with your Granville Robson rotation. Really poor halves. Look, some good youngsters coming up, but not enough to cover for those gaps. Wooden spoon for mine. I think if you can get anything above 350 for the spoon, that would be my play. I think Cowboys will get it. Parramatta went out last year in one of the most gripping finals matches we've seen in years. Very unlucky. I thought they were in the contest against Penrith and, just couldn't quite get over the line. I think they'll be solid again. And we kind of predicted that last year and we were right. We thought they would compete with the good sides, beat the poor sides, but ultimately just not have the upside to go with the best sides in the comp. I don't see much as changes here at all. They've still got Brad Arthur as coach. Wouldn't call him a flat track bully, but he's in that territory. You've got some good footballers there, whether we're talking Paulo, Marnie, Regan Campbell-Gillard, and Gutho just puts in every week. So some good players in the right positions. It's a shock that Marnie's leaving 2023, the Dogs, but he'll put in, mate. He's that type of player. There's no doubt about he will have another good year. I think it'll be pretty much the same as last year. They had that dip off late in the year when teams learn how to play them. I wouldn't surprise me if something similar happened at a stage in the year where they just don't have a plan B. So if they're not dominating you and rolling over the top of you, they can't really score points, without that dominance up front. So, it's a great pack. And Gutho really knows how to get the most out of the roll-on. So I think, they're going to be in that sort of 5th, 6th, 7th range. But I think they're a fair way off the top 4. So no real bets around Parramatta for mine. Penrith, wow, mate, well-deserved. Pretty much fell over the line in their last 3 matches last year, but they were good enough to win them. And they were the better side in all 3 games, don't get me wrong. But, geez, they were all close. And showed a lot of resilience there, so credit's got to go to Isaiah Yeo, who was just brilliant in every match almost the whole year. Nathan Cleary's kicking game was phenomenal, and I've got him pegged as the most valuable player in the comp. He's just a lot of things he does might not be as spectacular as Trbojevic or Teddy, but he's just so consistent and he can control a game. So I think he'll continue that form this year. The depth is really being tested now with Burton gone, and Capewell was great for them. So they had real good rotation there on the edges there with Martin. So, look, I'm not saying they'll fall away. I think they're too good to do that. They're probably on paper still the best side. I just don't think they'll handle everyone gunning for them this year. I saw some signs there that, a few players look fatigued. They really lifted last year. It's so hard to go back-to-back. So I will write them off as going back-to-back. I don't think they can do it. I wrote them off with 3 weeks to go last year, so there you go. So I got that wrong. But, I think they'll be top 4. But it might be like the Roosters of last year, sort of sneak into the top 4, or Para, like you don't really deserve to be there. When the whips are cracking late, but I think they'll be flogging the poor sides, competing every week. I just don't know if they'll have a lot of energy towards the end of the year, because everyone's got their number now and they'll be gunning for them. Dragons, interesting side, this one. It's young, it's mobile, and it just doesn't sit well with me that they're coached by Anthony Griffin, who's exactly not that type of coach. So whether he's going to change his ways, and I wouldn't write it off, and really adapt a different strategy with the new rules. It could be a masterstroke. This could be the side that's actually really well suited to the modern game. A lot of young kids. I'm not saying they'll dominate. In fact, I don't think they'll make the 8, but they could actually be a very good side if it clicks. I don't know if Griffin's got it in him to do that. They've got some old stages there with Woodsy and Moses and Bai, but Junior Ramone and Hunt in the halves, Tyrell Sloan at fullback. You got Ramsey and Lomax and Fair Guy out wide, like this young speed there. They just need the strategy to take advantage of that. Can the forwards create that platform? Bird's going to move into the forwards this year with Sewer, so a bit of strength on the edges. And I'm really glad they kept Tariq Sims. I think he deserved a new contract, and he got one. So, it's just that McCullough at dummy half, whether he's got the pace. I think he straightens up nicely. And if they can get the right shape, this side might surprise a few people. On paper, they look pretty terrible, but I just like the youth and the pace, and that's what the comp's all about now. So, you know what? I'm going to put them in that sort of third quadrant, ninth to sort of 12th. That might surprise a few people. Some people are talking about them for Spoon, but no, I think they're going to have some wins in them. And when they do win, it might be worth getting on the 13 plus. South Sydney, what a year last year. It was an absolutely amazing year. Their big signing this year, Anthony Milford, won't play a game. They've released him for a off-field indiscretion. We all know that Adam Reynolds has gone, which is going to test them. And look, I'm not... I don't think that's the biggest change. The biggest one's Wayne Bennett going, and that's what they're going to have to deal with. I don't know if they can get through it this year. I don't think they'll make the 4 this year, personally. I think it's a solid side, but there's just so many excuses for them not to go well. You're going to have young Lachlan Elias in the halves. You've got Dimitri in his first go as an NRL coach. I think there's just going to be too much disruptions. I know, like, Latrell will be back. He missed the last 5 or 6 rounds, which, look, they did really well despite him. Hopefully he's cleaned his game up. So, still, I can't talk highly enough of Cam Murray. Cook did really well last year. Campbell Graham's going to be better the year he had last year. Jai Arrow, they really missed him in the grand final when he went off, and he had some brilliant games towards the back end of the year. So a good side, probably in that Parramatta category. We'll beat a lot of sides below them. We'll probably go with the good sides, may win 1, probably lose 2, in that sort of ratio. So, I've got them finishing that 5th to 8th spot. I hope they make the 8. I think it's a proud club, and I'd hate to see them drop off, but I don't think they're anywhere near top 4 material. Roosters, eh? Wow. I hate to say it, this does not sit well with me, but they're my pick this year. I think they're the most balanced side to win the comp. Look, it's really hot at the top. We've still got Penrith, we've got Manly, we've talked about Melbourne. And Cronulla could come from the clouds, I suppose. But I think the Roosters side is really well settled. Morris are a huge loss, but let's not forget Sawali's going to be a year older. I thought he just wasn't up to it last year. He wasn't up to the contact, and neither really was Sam Walker for the second half of the year. He won the Rookie of the Year, but he fell in. He was just, you could tell Robinson didn't want to play him. He was looking after him to try and get him through for this year. So they'll only get bigger and stronger and be able to handle the physicality. Both are very talented, and it's only natural that you don't hit your straps to your early 20s. Teddy, phenomenal year last year. Keary's back, right? So Keary's firing. He can take a lot of the pressure off Walker. Momorowski's a solid signing to partner Manu. It's Radley, he slipped way off in my eyes last year, and he needs to go back to basics. He was overplaying his hand, something rotten, just trying to offload and drift across field. He's just getting in everyone's way. He's just going to straighten up, then look for the offload. Tekiaho and Wira-Hargraves, they're getting on a bit. That's the only doubt for mine. Verrills, Tekiaho and Hargraves, I just think might be a little bit slow around the middle, and that could catch up with them. If you don't have pace around there, regardless how much experience you have, maybe they're waiting for Brandon next year. Next year, if they had Brandon in this team this year, they'd be unbackable in my eyes. But just that little risk there, the bench and the forwards. Connor Watson might end up playing dummy half all year, and that's a great signing as well. So a bit of a shrewdy there from Robbo. I think that's a great signing. So Roosters are mine. They're sort of floating around that $6-7 mark. They've shortened a little bit. They're my pick. I think if you can get over $5.50, take them. I think they're morals for the top four, and you're getting around $1.70 mark. I think that's free money. So, Roosters are my pick to win the comp this year. Last but definitely not least, the mighty West Tigers. It's amazing to have Benji Marshall, Robbie Farah, Tin Machines back in the mix. I would say guiding Madge Maguire, but they might be running the show soon. I think Madge is under a lot of pressure. This is the kind of talent the club needs. Guys who know how a football club runs, knows how to get the best out of every player, and knows how to get the best out of a coaching staff, utilising all your skills and diversity. Madge just wasn't doing that. He's not the worst coach in the comp, but he's definitely not that top echelon, and I think Tigers will be just working on a transition away from him, get Sheensy more involved. Dane Laurie is going to be fit. Oliver Gildart and Jackson Hastings from the UK. I'm not going to vouch for either. A bit of upside, could have downside. Let's see how it goes. It's always great to see an English player, new player in the comp. I think they attract a lot of interest, and if he can run some quick lines, they might get a bit of punch out wide. They say Maumalo and Nofaluma are looking good at training. Brooksy's training the house down. You hear that every year. It's an interesting squad. It's probably a bit weak up front. The pace quite isn't there, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Seyfarth. I think he can cement a spot as 13. Him or Peachy, in and out, like different types of players. Seyfarth, a real bruiser, a bit of a Dale Finucane type player. Peachy, I thought he was brilliant playing at 6 last year for the Titans in the final. So I actually think he could move to 6 if we're under a bit of pressure. So, Tigers are way off the pace. I'm going to go with my heart here a little bit. I just think there's a little bit more upside than a couple of those really poor sides. I'm going to pick them also for that bottom quadrant, that 9th to 12th area of the teams missing the 8. I don't think they'll get the spoon. I don't. So I think Tigers will, win about 8 games. So 8 or 9, maybe 10 in a really freakish year. So let's see how they go.